In this video, we're going to take a look at NTP and finish up with a SNMP. NTP is the network time protocol and is used to synchronize the clocks of your system devices with a dedicated time source throughout the network. The idea behind NTP is to provide a network-based time source that anybody can pretty much use. There's some pieces of it that we're going to have to talk about that are kind of unique. We will not be going into any major configuration. I'm just going to show you how to configure it, and I'll leave you guys to the pieces and parts to it that really need to be discussed as we go along here, because quite frankly, there's, it's a protocol. It does the time. The only thing that's really specific about version 4 is it supports IPv6, where version 3 I don't believe it did. And some of the major cool topics about it is the fact that the authentication in 4, you can actually encrypt it. So with or I should say cryptographic, so it supports MD5. So basically, from what I understand about NTP, there's a lot of similarities to NTP version 2, and as far as I'm concerned, unless you really want to dig into the details, and I believe that I don't know what the default version of NTP is on iOS, but the NTP that I've worked with has been version 3, I believe. So we're going to configure router 7 as to be our NTP server or our master, and with the lowest strider number. The strider number is going to be the lower the number, the more accurate the clock. So if we go to global config and we type in NTP server, and we type in NTP master, and we're going to give it a stratum of 2. Usually I give it that, and then I type in, I'll go NTP server on, say, router 1. I'll exit out here. I'll type in NTP. Is it NTP server? NTP server is going to be 10.1.100.7, and then you can go in here and jump out and show NTP associations, and you can say show NTP status, and we are synchronized, and it happens that fast. So beyond that, that's really, NTP is very simple to get working. It's the authentication that's a little more in depth. So we'll take a quick look at doing the authentication here, just so you guys have an idea as to what it looks like. So remember, 7 is our server. So we'll type in NTP authenticate, and we'll hit the enter key. That turns it on, turns authentication on. NTP authentication, and we'll say key is going to be 1, and then the MD5 and the password is going to be Cisco, and it automatically, I believe, pulls in encryption level 7 or encryption type 7, and then we'll type in on 1. We'll go to global and now we do that up arrow again. Now we're still synchronized even though we're authenticating. We'll type in NTP authentication key is 1 MD5 of Cisco. NTP authenticate, and we'll type in NTP trusted key is going to be 1, and NTP server is going to be 10.1.100.7, and we're going to use key 1 and be done. Now you have NTP server, and you have 10.1.100.7, and you have version. And you have version, we'll say version 3, and then you have a couple of extra keys, configurations you can go in here, and then you can say 4, and there's really not, as you can see, there's really no difference in them beyond that, other than 4 supports IPv6 and goes from there. I mean, that's really all there really is to it. So if we go back to 1, or let's go to the end and go show NTP associations, we are there, show NTP status, and we are unsynchronized. So it does take a little while for it to get synced. I think it's just the fact that it needs to get the keying has to go across. So we do a show run pipe include NTP. And that's on router 1. That looks all good. And then we're going to go to router 7. And we'll say 7. We'll do a show, or I'm sorry, do show run pipe include NTP. That looks good. And we'll say that eventually there'll be 2, since 2 is the, or I'm sorry, router 1. It says unsynchronized. And the reason why it says unsynchronized is because of the fact that I'm guessing the authentication is not working. I don't know. Can we do a debug NTP? All. I'm just gonna do that. I've never debugged NTP, to be honest with you. I have no idea, because I've just set it up in networks before, and it's saying that bad auth. That's what it's saying. Bad auth authentication. Show run pipe include NTP. Maybe I need to go to clock period. Clock period maybe needs to be set up. Config t NTP clock period is let's see which. There's an example that I have copied down. I'm just going to use this guy here. I don't know if it has any bearing on it. This configuration is deprecated. So we'll say, obviously that's not going to work. So we'll say 1024. That command is deprecated. Oh, NTP clock period is deprecated. Okay. So that obviously doesn't make any difference. And as you can see, it's bad crypto or bad authentication. Let's see. But that's honestly, I don't have a good answer for you, other than the fact that as long as you have a master and they can talk to each other, and you have a client, it's good to go. But beyond that, I really wouldn't play with it much beyond that. Just know what it is. Snmp is going to be the next one we're going to talk about. And I'm going to go back out to my home router because there's not a whole lot we can do with Snmp here. And so I'm going to pull up that. I'm going to connect into it, home router, load, open. And I'm going to log in as Rob and my password. There we go. And I'm going to pull up a MIB browser real quick. And this MIB browser is kind of cool actually. Give it a second to load. I'm going to do a show run pipe include Snmp. So we have Snmp. There's a lot here, right? So I'm actually going to minimize this guy for the moment. And right now, if we were to go, this is my string, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this guy over here. This is my MIB browser. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in the host is going to be 192.168.1.151. The community is going to be public, which is going to be just this. And paste that in here. There we go. And then I'm going to go in here to, it is operations get. No, forget what I did. There's like, you have to go pull that command, edit. Forgot how to do settings. I forgot how to do it. Oh, B2C. There we go. Click OK. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run this, and I'm going to pull in the Snmp Internet Management. I'm going to pull this guy in here and get. So right now, okay, so let's type in, let's make sure my community is right. If you want to know, you do a show community, or show SNMP community. It'll tell you right here that it's public. I'll say public real quick in here. PUBLIC. It's actually the worst one you want to run. Okay, timed out. So what we need to do is we need to come in here and change this around to be, what is it can set up as? PUBL black or bang C, and we're gonna go ahead and run that again. But you know what? There may not be any. Let's see if we can try another one. Snmp version 2. That was version 1. That might be why. Modules, Snmp mib. Expand this guy out. See if that'll work. But anyway, as you can see, it's going to go out there and get a get bulk, and it'll go out there and try to find the information it needs to run and grab this information in. So the idea here is, and I don't play with this very often, but if we were to do like an RF interface, Snmp version 2, I mean, it just like trees itself way out there. So link up down, and we're going to do another pull. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not working, but anyway, the idea here would be you would be able to get the information in a. There's multiple ways of doing this too when you set it up. So, like for instance, you'll have 161 goes out and grabs. 162 is a response back in. So if you go out there and pull the device, it's 161. If you were receiving a trap from the device, that means that it's going to be a 162. And then a trap is just sent to you, and inform is acknowledged. So there's got to be a two-way communication between the server and the host. And SNMP is heavily utilized in network management, so it's really, really important that you understand how this stuff works. It is a major deal. V2C is what we're running here. Actually supports authentication, and I believe V3 supports encryption, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty much what it boils down to. And SNMP is once you have it running, it pretty much runs itself. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to it than that. As long as you have the correct configurations going for what you need to have it running for, everything else kind of falls into place. So that's pretty much it for. I have a bunch of communities. Cisco 0, is that one of them? Let's try that. CISCO 0. Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Actually, you know what? Let's try. Trying to look for an interface dump that would SNMP. Name. Let's see if that'll work. It would be ironic if this all failed. That's okay. You know what? I'm not too concerned about getting it. I really don't care if it doesn't work, because I don't ever use SNMP here at home. So that's pretty much SNMP. There's not a lot to it. Well, I shouldn't say there is not a lot to it. There's a lot to it because you can get in here, you can get very specific. You can turn a bunch of different stuff on as to what's going on in the network and how it's relating. And as you can see, I have SNMP enabled on the traps and stuff like that. So am I utilizing any of this? No. Is there ways that I could? Absolutely. But I don't have any real reason to do so. But just be aware of what's out there. And this last little bit, I didn't put a whole lot of effort into showing you what was there, simply for the fact that it's really low-end stuff, and a few minutes on Google and Cisco's website would fill you in on any information that you don't know. To turn it on, you type in snmp-server, and then you'd be able to turn on, you'd be able to type in enable, and you'd be able to type traps, and then you'd be able to specify what traps you want to turn on. If you just hit enter, it's already enabled for that. And then if you type in snmp, dash server, you can actually send trap inform. Or is it trap inform, or is it... it's trap host. Snp host, and then you'd be able to specify where you're going to send the information, and from there you'd be able to send it outbound, as long as you have the correct community value, you'd be able to pull that information in from a SolarWinds or a PRTG, things like that. So that's pretty much how it works. So beyond that, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.